Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining the webinar today. I'm going to start off telling you a little about myself and then a little about Wrench, and then dive into basically what we'll be covering in this presentation today, and a little intro into Romolo and Daniel. My name is Eric Olson. I'm a business development manager in North America for Wrench Solutions. Wrench Solutions is a leading provider of a cloud-based project information management platform for organizations engaged in engineering and construction projects, including owners, contractors, designers, and consultants. Smart Project digitalizes the project execution process by bringing all stakeholders onto a single platform. It integrates processes, people, data, resulting in a high efficient and cost-effective project delivery model. Today, we are presenting the webinar, Get Control of Your Engineering Deliverables by Monitoring Their Progress in Real Time, presented by Daniel and Romolo. There will be a 30-minute session and a 15-minute QA. The session will start with a simple poll to make a better clarity of your specific pain points regarding to this topic. Then we will go into a presentation and a product demo. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them in the question box in the GoToWebinar control panel on the right. I'll bring them up at the end in the Q&A. This session is recorded, and we'll start to share with you the recording once the session is over. Our presenters today are Romolo and Daniel. Romolo is EPC Energy and Chemical Operations Business Development Executive, born in Africa, raised in Italy, and educated in the U.S. Romolo has worked and lived in over a dozen countries. He has a global perspective of organizations and different cultures. His experience includes working with his family general contractor building business, U.S. corporations, and a Japanese EPC contractor in the U.S. Currently, Romolo started with other industry colleagues GR2 Engineering, where he was bringing an innovative IT network approach to engineering and EPC industry. Daniel, he's an entrepreneur who set up Wrench Solutions in 1994 as a specialist software company catering to engineering sector. The company today offers a range of products, platforms, and solutions that add an intelligent automation to engineering construction process and allows companies to save millions of manpower and man hours. The latest creation, Wrench Smart Project, is in use on 9,000 projects across 25 countries. Daniel today divides his time running the company in India and developing new markets globally. We will start with a quick poll, followed by a 30-minute presentation by Daniel, followed by a 15-minute QA session. So I'll go ahead and start off with a quick poll, if you don't mind, and it will move pretty fast. Here's your first poll, if you don't mind. Does your company do progress-based monitoring of deliverables? If you could, just fill it out. I'll give you about 15 seconds, and then we'll move on to the presentation. Thank you. Okay, we have about 75% of people voted. Thank you, almost 100. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and close it out. Looks like everybody said yes. Our next one. Does your company have a definition of weightage? All right, I'll give this 5 more seconds. I'll close this out. Thank you all for voting. Looks like a lot of people do and don't. And this is the last poll. Thank you again, right here. What do you think are the challenges for doing progress monitoring? Okay, we're almost done, 50%. Thank you all. This is the last one, and we'll get into the presentation. Looks like it's a pretty mixed audience. Thank you again for your patience in taking this poll. Now, without further ado, we'll go ahead and turn this presentation over to Daniel.
Thank you, Eric, and welcome to all of you to this presentation. So I have structured this presentation in two steps. I'll have a brief introduction about what we're going to talk about, and then we're going to show you how we solve the problem. So today, when you talk about engineering deliverables are drawings, designs which are created by your internal engineering team, and vendor drawings and documents. So you deal with different document types or data types, we call it. It is 3D models, in BIM models, and drawings extracted from this, or 2D drawings which are created for the design, different types of documents which you generate as part of your design, and also outputs from design softwares, which is bill of materials, specifications, etc., are the types of data that we deal with. Now you have the various classifications of these deliverables, which means when you identify those deliverables, you have the manner weightage specified for it. You have the design class document classification, which says what is to be approved, what is to be reviewed, and what is for information category. And depending on your client's approval status codes, you define the different approval status code for each type of, for all the documents. And then you have an issue purpose. Why do you issue for construction, issue for review, issue for approval, as well as you have a revision philosophy. Now, keeping this in mind, what we have as a deliverable list is a list of documents which are identified by its description and the document numbers which identifies them uniquely. And sometimes people keep revision numbers also along with that. Now, typically, what in an organization keeps a track of this document by defining the start date and the IFC date against this. Now, the challenge is only and in these two dates you monitor that. So so as a next step, these deliverables essentially from start to IFC goes through a particular process, which means starting, there is, as a design is created by the originator, it could be a designer or a draftsman who generates a design. Then it goes through an internal review within the department. It goes through an interdisciplinary check or an IDC. Then it goes to PM approval. Then it gets issued to the client. Again, this work process, or we call it as a workflow, is a procedure by which the start to IFC process happens. Now, if we need to track these deliverables against a progress, we identify key milestones inside these process, and we define planned dates for this. And you can define weightages, which is called otherwise rule of credit, against this, so that you are able to have your planned S curve, which is based on this dates and this progress. And you can define what progress you need to give depending on your past experience or based on best practices, so that you make sure that as you get closer to 100%, you are actually consuming your effort to get you there to IFC stage. So from this, you have the planned S curve, which shows how does a deliverable lead from 0 to 100. So it is not a single deliverable. It can be also for a package. And once you define the weightages of each deliverable in a package, the cumulative progress of the package or individual progress of the deliverable can be defined. Now, if we need to monitor this, the most challenging thing is to capture the actuals. So now here, if you look at it, you have 5 boxes which is the actual dates which needs to be filled. And you have for 10 deliverables, you got to enter at least 50 boxes has to be filled by the designer. Either the designer should give you those dates and fill it up, or you send this Excel file to the designer and they fill it up. So this is this is the most challenging thing, to get them to update this when you need it, so that you are able to get your actual progress monitored. And if there is a delay, you are able to take necessary corrective action by reforecasting the plan and publishing the new forecasted date. So which means you keep your plan date the same, publish a new forecast date for the remaining work to be completed, so that you are able to keep the same end date and still complete the work in the remaining time available. So what is typically done today is that we pick up the schedule from this spreadsheet, from your planning system, which is Primavera or MS Project, and then as the design happens, the designer or the planner has to chase those designers to get to know the actuals, and this is populated manually. So which is the most challenging thing. So what we have done is we have automated this whole process. So we read the Primavera schedule, and the deliverables are dovetailed to the schedule of the Primavera, so that the plan dates are transposed from Primavera into the schedules here. And for each deliverable, there is a process flow, or you have a common process flow for all the deliverables, and you define weightages and resources responsible for doing this job. So from that, the system provides a to-do list to every resource who is supposed to do the respective work. And when the respective resource does their job, the system automatically captures the progress, which means as the activity gets completed and goes to the next step, the progress is automatically captured, and this progress is updated at the deliverable level. And once it is based on the weightage, it rolls up and updates a status in your planning system. So effectively, it's a complete cyclic process. So when you see the actuals, you know that what is the variation. You look at your S curve, and then you realize that if it's on time, fantastic. If it's delayed, you can have a republished forecasted date. You push that forecast date and push it through this, so that the to-do list gets updated to the person who's doing the job with the revised dates. So now, if you are working on 3D models, the status of the 3D models also can be defined. So you have your schedules for how do you progress 3D models. And when the model status code is updated in the model, we can pick up that status and show you what is the current status of the model. Now, you also deal with vendor documents. So vendors are expected to give you a vendor document list with a schedule, and then it needs to be reviewed internally by by the engineering department. So you can define weightages for it, and vendors can upload this against the schedule. So this system will expedite them to chase them to make sure that they give the drawings as committed by the date. And once it is received, you can chase it, send it through this workflow, and get the progress while it is getting processed through this. So from this information, we have all the data that is required for producing dashboards and reports for you. So which means we have the planned dates, we have the forecasted dates, we have the actuals. So at any time when you look at your reports, it's real time updated as to where are you on the progress, so that you can have your reforecasted plan to show you how is it going to get to the 100% finally. And then from this, you can generate different types of reports, which are exception reports, which show you the delay reports, so that you can quickly go focus on expediting those deliverables which are getting delayed, as well as you can do trend analysis. So this shows that the submissions that you are given to your customer, how many of those have got approved, how many are pending with the client, and for what duration. So you can have different types of reports like this. So this is a level wise report. Then you can have a look ahead report produced. So which means all these are real time, which means you don't have to produce any of these reports. Automatically the system generates this. So now what I'm going to show you is how does this actually happen. So I'm going to take you through an example of a deliverable list where I have engineering categorized under two heads. One is the internal deliverables, and you have vendor deliverables. So under that, I've identified, which means I've filtered it by the discipline. So I can filter it by, the type of deliverables like basic engineering, detail engineering, or any of those. And under that, the actual deliverable list is there. So you could, so what we have done is we pulled in the deliverable list, which is there in your Excel, which has the information of the document number. And also you can have weightages for each deliverable in case you have differential weightages within the deliverables here. And against each deliverable, we have assigned a process flow which says this is how the deliverable is getting processed and goes to various people. So here we have identified the first activity to the originator who's originating it. So that's a role of the person. And then you send it to a discipline check, IDC, and then it goes to the project manager, goes to the client, capture the client comments, and then once a client has putting comments, it goes back to the originator for modification, and it goes back. And for though this is the quality management process by which you process the deliverable. So against this, we can also have the rule of credit for certain activities or certain milestones in this process, which means when you originate, you have given you get a weightage of 10%, or you load it, you define a rule of credit of 10%. It goes to the discipline check. You have a cumulative progress of 30%, which means you have a 20% weightage. And like this, you can get to the 100%, and you have the planned dates and forecasted date published here. Now, the need of the system is how do we capture the actuals? So I'm going to show you how does a user interact with the system. So what happens is when an originator logs in, which means the originator gets a notification on his Outlook stating that this is a deliverable which is supposed to work on. So he gets, these are the number of deliverables which is pending with him. So this has come from the planning person's issuing this, and he's supposed to work on that respective deliverable which is supposed to be completed. So now what does a originator do? Either they can start a drawing or a document right here, or in the interest of time, I'm going to pick up a drawing which I have already created. So I'm just attaching the drawing. So I'm attaching the CAD file and also a PDF file because I want to use the PDF file for commenting. So I've uploaded that file. Now, once I've uploaded this file, I'm going to send this one because I've completed my work. So when I send this, it tells you the workflow so that this particular deliverable, the next stage is defined to the checker for the discipline check, and it automatically sends this deliverable from draw to check. And also you can see that the to-do list of that originator gets removed, that there were two activities, now there is only one. There were two tasks, now there is only one. And now it sends a notification to the checker. So when the checker, because this is a completely browser-based, cloud-based application, wherever the checker is, in the world, the checker gets a notification on his Outlook, as well as in his to-do list. This will get updated that this is a drawing which has come to him for checking. So he can access that particular drawing, and right there he can start commenting on the drawing. So here we have different tools which are used for commenting. You could use Adobe Reader. Now I've used Adobe Reader because it's free. Or if you are using things like Bluebeam or any of those, any of this viewing tools, we integrate with that. And this way, the comments can be posted against this particular drawing. And after that, this is, this is attached to this particular original drawing. So what happens is, while you are commenting, the system is capturing what was the comment that has been put, and it is getting attached to the respective drawing, saying that this was a drawing and this was a comment put by this. So this is automatically logged, and also it is showing you the status there. Like you can see that this was the original drawing, this was a comment put, the date and time is captured automatically, and also the file is there. So if you wish to view that file, you can take a view of that commented file right there inside the system. So by this, you are actually keeping, everything is recorded, and you can see on the workflow where are you in this particular. So the current state shows in yellow color, which means it is with the checker. So now what the checker does is, say, I'm just fast tracking this. I want to send this to the client now. So consider that I'm going to send it back to the originator. He makes a modification. So now I'm going to send it to the document controller to transmit this particular drawing to the client because I want to submit this for approval. So again, the document controller now gets a notification because that this particular drawing or a particular drawing is ready to be transmitted, and the document controller creates a transmittal through the system. So the transmittal is created online. So now this is a drawing, and I'm going to create a transmittal as a document controller. So I'm logging in as different users to show you the different roles that will be operating on this. So now this is sent to the client. So there are two ways of doing that. Either you can send it through the system to the client on an email, or you can actually make client part of the system so that the client can access this transmittal online. So now this transmittal is created where this says this particular drawing. So it's not just one document. I can have a set of documents, or I can have a package selected and then all the documents within that package, and then I release this particular transmittal. So now when I release it, this particular document, this transmittal goes as an email to the client, and it also if it is an external client who is not part of the system, or just like the originator sent to the checker, an internal email is sent to the client saying that this is a drawing there. So the acknowledgement from the client, all this can be automated. And then if the client delays in giving you the reply, the system will send reminders to the client so that you can make sure that the client does not gives you the feedback on time. So now what happens is the client puts their approval status codes, which was predefined there as 1, 2, 3, 4, or A, B, C, D, whichever you can configure it the way you want it. And then the client says, okay, I have a set of comments. Either I can go online and comment like what I did with the checker did, or he can give you a comment resolution sheet which has the details of the comment there. So now the client has completed the commenting, and then the client is sending this. So in case the client is not part of the system, then a document controller can receive the comment from the client on email and then attach it here, so that the track of when the comment came, and that acknowledgement, everything can be updated so that you can expedite the client in case there is a delay. So now once the client comments have been received, what we're doing, it goes to the concerned project manager to look at those comments. So again, it's all defined by the workflow, so you can create your own workflow process here. So now if you look at the progress of this deliverable, the system has automatically captured the actual date. So you can see this. Now the progress is 70% because I have issued the document for comment. So the actual dates that you see there with the date and time is automatically updated. So this is how we actually capture the actual date here. So now I'll just complete this process where now the project manager receives the client comment. So here it is approved. It's been approved with comments, which means you have a weightage which is specified that if it is approved, I get 100%. If it is approved with comments, I still remain at 70%. So now I have against this document, because I've received some comments, I can create a comment resolution sheet which has a list of comments which I'm supposed to close before this document is sent back to the client. So typically the client would have given you a comment resolution comment in an Excel sheet, or it can be even a comment put on PDF. We can read the text from the PDF and then bring it up here. So now what the engineering company does is, against each of those, they will say whether this can be done or not, or can be, we reject it. And based on this, the client will say, okay, fine, go ahead and implement it. And finally you implement it, and then you close out all those comments. So now with this comments, I'm going to send this this particular deliverable to the originator, because the originator gets to know what are the comments given by the client, so that he's supposed to revise this particular document based on those changes. So the originator now makes the changes based on the comment provided by the client, and then uploads the revised drawing or document against this. So still the progress will be at the same percentage, because you have given a weightage of 70% against issue for review, and which means if it is approved with comments at 70%, so based on that, the progress remains at that. and also the system automatically records the new revision number. So you see that now the revision was 0, now it automatically incremented this to revision 1. And then when you look at the deliverable, it shows you always the latest revision, which is revision 1, and also it maintains the previous revision automatically, which means whatever comments were put in revision 0, it maintains all the information, the original drawing, the comment that was put, the comment resolution sheet which was provided by the client, everything is recorded. And the latest revision is revision 1, and you also have a provision to compare between the two revisions in case you want to see the variation between the two drawings. So now after this is there, after the the revision has been updated, now this drawing can be sent back to the client through a transmittal. It can be reviewed. So now if you look at it, the complete history of this, all the transactions are maintained. When was the drawing originated, so the complete audit log of what all has happened, with whom it has gone, everything is recorded. And it also maintains a log of all this data, and this the data is captured. So now you have the actual update and actual progress captured automatically, so you don't have to call a designer and ask him, and neither has the designer have to enter any information. They are only doing their respective job of creating a drawing, reviewing the drawing, and they just do their jobs. So once you get that information, immediately your S curves are updated, so you can see where were you supposed to be and where are you at this point in time. You can see your trend analysis. So these are dashboards which are created on Power BI. So from this you can make exception reports like this, or you can do some trends in submittals and how many are submitted, how many have come back. You can keep a track of that, as well as you can filter this information. Like this is an exception report where you have a traffic light and you want to see the list of drawings which are pending. So it should not have gone to red, which means red means it is delayed. Now even when you are about 5% delay, with that you can define a different color like orange, or probably you can even have multiple colors. It need not be 3 colors. You can even have violet. So you can violet shows like 3% variation, 4%. So as a project controls person or a person who's monitoring the project, you only need to monitor what is delayed. So you don't have to look at what is going okay. So by this you can precisely go to the details. You can see your weightage based progress. You can have your look ahead reports. All these are updated automatically, so which means you can anybody wants to see the status at any second, the information is available online, and the concerned user who is doing their job keeps doing this work, and the system automatically captures the work. So in this way, what we have taken away the real issue about capturing the actuals is done automatically, and the effort that you take to collate this data and produce reports is done in real time, so that at any point in time you get to know where you are, where you were supposed to be, and in case you want to see what is delayed only, you can, and these are accessible on your mobile, and it's completely it's on the browser, so you don't have any installation to be done. You just download the mobile app. You can get notified on things which are not going okay, so that you can intervene at the right time, find the solution by publishing your reforecasted plan, and communicating this information to the end users, so that they are able to execute the work based on a new forecasted date, so that eventually you are able to get your job done. So this is what we meant by completely getting control of your engineering deliverables by monitoring their progress in real time, so that you do not have your deliverables delayed. And this can be extended from engineering to other areas as well, which means if you have a flow of procurement where you have a purchase intent, you have an order, you have deliveries, inspection, etc., those also can be tracked against a progress, as well as construction, so you can get an integrated progress of your project and prevent your projects getting delayed. And you can also monitor cost along with this. So this is what I have to share with you in this 30 minutes that was planned for this. So now I would like to open up to hand it over to Eric for the rest of the session.
Thank you, Daniel. I'll go ahead and take some time for questions now. Just a reminder, please make sure to type your questions into the question box in the control panel. We already have a few, so I'm going to go ahead and start off with the first one. We don't have a standard methodology of defining weightages. Do you have a library of standard weightages for different deliverables types? How about Romulo? Do you think you could maybe help out on that one?
Yeah, definitely. So when we set up our system in GR2 engineering, we had the same issue, and branch provided us with their standard set of weightages, and as we are progressing our work and adapting to the requirement of the clients, we modify it and adjust it on a project by project basis. But yes, there is a standard set of weightages you can use.
Thank you. Thank you, Romulo. We have another question. We are unable to freeze a number of deliverables in a project. How do you handle it? That's a very interesting question. You think you can handle that one too, Romulo?
Yeah, that's actually is a very common problem in the engineering business. We don't know how many. We think we estimated the exact number of deliverables, but we always have to revise it because of scale, because of whatever reason. So our practice is to have for each set of deliverable a contingency number of deliverables, which is set aside and used as it goes on, and is moved into the right position if these deliverables do come. Otherwise, they just remain there and progressed during the execution as if they were real deliverables, not to affect the progress of the project. Eric, back to you.
Oh, we have one more. So I was going back and forth with someone in the questions. We have another one here. As we monitor the deliverables, can we see the attached document? Is the history maintained? Do you maintain all the revisions? Daniel, could you handle this one?
Yeah, see, I had in fact showed that to you. So what happens is the complete, the actual design drawing and the PDF, which is also the linked document to the original documents are maintained. In fact, we even maintain reference documents. So whenever there are changes, whenever it goes to the workflow process, and I demonstrated that the revision gets incremented, we are keeping the history of the previous revision and also maintaining always showing you the latest revision. In fact, we also have a facility where when the drawing is approved and released, we also print a QR code on every drawing so that if a drawing is lying on the shop floor or it's in the site and somebody is using the drawing, they can just pass through the mobile app on top of it and it will check with the central server, which is and notify that user that the drawing they are using is the actual drawing itself, which means it's the latest, the final drawing. So you don't need to, so that prevents the possibility of ever using a wrong drawing at, for construction or for procurement or anything. And also we maintain all the histories as well.
Thank you, Daniel. This is actually another one related to last one. Do you maintain a complete audit trail of all transactions?
Absolutely, because when all these transactions are taking place, Wrench is keeping a record of all that as it happens, so that tomorrow, if you wish to go and check what are the where was a problem, or has anybody deviated the process, or you want to have a history. So as work happens, it is going on recording everything that is done, and an audit trail is maintained against each item so that you never have a possibility of missing out on anything. And you can even generate reports out of that and show me the history of this document, how it started from the beginning till the end. with all the step-by-step process associated with that.
Thank you, Daniel. I have another one. Does Wrench software link to P6 and Microsoft Project, and also does it pull plan an actual forecast? Could you elaborate a little bit more on how exactly we work with them and what we do to complement that?
Yeah, so what we typically do is in a project, you have your project schedule done in Primavera or MS Project, and you have your activity IDs inside Primavera. Now, the deliverables are generally not maintained in Primavera, it is maintained in a spreadsheet. So now we index that. Now, as far as Wrench is concerned, we take in the Primavera schedule or the MS Project schedule with the unique activity IDs. And then when the deliverables are updated with the status, we update back the actuals. So from that actuals, if you see there is a variation, you can do your forecasting in Primavera or MS Project and republish the new forecasted dates through Wrench to the user. Ultimately, it has to reach the actual user who is doing the job. So we have a bi-directional integration between MS Project and Primavera at the activity level, so that we can update it at the level we pick the data, which means we don't have to go and add up all these deliverables back into the Primavera. We can update it at the level we picked up the information from the planning system.
Thank you, Daniel. I have another one here. How flexible is the system to generate customized reports and dashboards? I think, Romola, maybe you can tell a little bit about your experience with Wrench and how you used it in the past as a customer.
Yes, so in the past it was a little bit more, we had to go back to Wrench all the time, and they were very flexible in providing the reports we needed. Recently, they have adopted Power BI, and actually it's so flexible that we basically make customized reports for our clients, and it's different for each client. So it's very, very flexible.
Thank you, Romola. Looks like we have another one. Typically, how long does it take for implementation in an engineering company, and what steps do you take? I think, Daniel, you'd be best fit for that one.
Yeah, so it starts with whether from the polling that I see is most people are already doing progress monitoring. So there are companies which we started with where they were not using on value based progress monitoring for monitoring the project. So we started with definitions of weightages, and so we had a library. So if you start from that stage, it becomes a little bit more elaborate. But if you're already following a mechanism of doing this on your spreadsheet, then it's extremely easy. Like, we have set up a project in a week's time because we just had to migrate those data into this with the plan dates, and then we define the process flow on a workflow, which is a graphical engine in which you could define it. So the steps that we follow is, first is, if the data is there, we migrate the data and set up the system, and then we hand it over to the users to use it, because when it is on a system, it has to be 100% as per the process that you follow, because it will not allow you to deviate from the process. So then the fine tuning happens, where people will say, no, this is not the actual process, we need to add a couple of processes more, or we don't want all these processes, we only need these processes. That fine tuning happens, and then we give training to the users. So a maximum period of rolling out the system is about a month, but we have also rolled out the system on organizations in a couple of weeks, like 2 weeks time. And then we gave them complete training to how to use it. And again, as you saw, most of the time the user was going to their workspace or to-do list, which told them what they need to do. So they only need to know when they get work, they get onto their to-do list and just do their work based on the to-do list. So the training was very very little to be done, except for the planners who probably need to know how to publish a forecast, how to change the forecast, or how to modify the plan, import it from Primavera. Those things are little more advanced, which requires probably a day's time for them to catch up on this. But once the system is set up, then they can roll out projects after that very easily. with very little effort. In 15-20 minutes they can set up a project and get started with the project, because most of it is templatized.
Thank you, Daniel. I have another one here. Does Wrench integrate with the enterprise EDMS like Bentley ProjectWise? Do you see it as a replacement for PW?
Yeah, if you are most of these applications that you talked about is a system for managing files. So which means we are maintaining the file here. So if you look at it, here we are managing the deliverables. So the design files are maintained in these applications. So we have, like, Autodesk has got something called BIM 360. Bentley's ProjectWise is another one which is meant for managing the files. So those files, when it become deliverables, it is captured inside this, processed through this in terms of the review and capturing of the monitoring aspect also. And in some cases it's a replacement, in some cases we can complement it. Like in BIM 360 we complement it, and in ProjectWise, when they're managing the Bentley information, which has got a lot of relational information, you could maintain it there and you publish the information which needs to be reviewed and approved to the client or submitted to the client. That part of it is done here because of the advantage of the progress monitoring that we can do automatically.
Thank you, Daniel. I have one other. Can you have any different weightages for different deliverables and packages?
Yes, Romolo, I think probably you can answer that.
Yes, the weightages goes with the workflow, so you can have different workflows for different type of deliverables. Based on my experience, I will not recommend to have too many workflows. You may think that initially that the P&ID and the piping general arrangements have completely different workflows, but basically engineering deliverables are developed on a common basis of somebody who starts it, somebody who checks it, somebody who approves it. So if you can maintain your workflow simpler is better. But yes, you can have as many workflows as you want and as many weightages as you want.
One more question. Can the reviews by collaborative example multiple reviewers at the same time?
Yes, I didn't actually show that. We have one. I mean, because I had planned it for 30 minutes. So we have using Bluebeam. In the IDC stage, you can publish this to multiple people at the same time, and each of them can independently comment on the system, and the system can consolidate the comment, which means while one person is commenting, those comments can be seen by the other person, so that simultaneously they can see each other's comment and finally create a consolidated comment from that. So it is possible to do that, and the consolidated comment ultimately can be extracted into a comment resolution sheet with the names captured, which means since there are multiple disciplines, there will be users who are doing their job. So we can capture the names of those users so that we can resolve that issue and update them that their comments have been addressed.
He replied, Bluebeam Studio session.
Yes. So we can create a Bluebeam Studio session through the system itself and also comment through that, and then the consolidated comments can be captured. So it's fully integrated with the Bluebeam session.
Well, I think that's pretty wraps up all the questions. If anybody else, I can follow up with you after this. I really appreciate everybody coming here. I really like to just thank you, Daniel and Romola. If y'all could just say a few words before we sign off.
Romolo, go ahead.
Yeah. Yes. So, well, thanks everybody for your attention. My experience, I've used progress monitoring on deliverables for the past 20 years, and I've used Wrench for doing that, and I brought it to many of the companies I work for, and I would highly recommend it for anybody to implement it.
Thank you, Romolo.
Thank you, Romolo.
Thank you all for attending this. I hope it was useful. We plan to conduct such more from our practical experience. Whatever we have learned, we want to conduct such programs to bring more awareness to people about how we can use technology to automate their work. So I hope it was useful, and we look forward to your feedback so that we can do more focused and better sessions in future. Thank you so much.
Thank you again. We really appreciate it. We'll have another webinar next month. We'll be sending you a short survey probably within the next hour. We really appreciate, you filling it out and giving us feedback. And everybody that had questions, I'll follow up with you after this. Thank you again, and have safe holidays.
All right.